Also welcome to Dorothy. I was giving a guest lecture on ego networks or personal networks, as they sometimes are called as well. So Dorothea is a postdoc here. She did her PhD in Manchester, but she's going to tell more about what she did. And yeah, she's going to make you also do a little bit of an exercise. So Dorothea, it's you.
Okay, hello everyone. We will be trying to be very interactive today, both for online people and those who actually showed up in real life. So I already told the class who are here that you should have a pen and a paper close to you. The people who are here, they don't need a paper, I will give you the paper. But those who are online, you will need an A4 sheet and a pen or a pencil, whatever. So yes, I'm Dorothea. I'm a postdoc researcher. I started recently at Trento University. I got my PhD in Manchester in sociology and more specifically about social networks. But I come from a diverse background. I have my BA in economics and psychology, and then I did sociology and anthropology. What I'm interested in, of course, is social networks, but my PhD is about the experiences of returning migrants. And because I'm Hungarian, I looked at specifically Hungarian people. Soon you will understand what we mean by return migrants. I'm also interested in migration in general. I have some projects with refugees and asylum seekers. And from a networks perspective, I'm particularly interested in negative and ambivalent ties. Can you hear me? Just checking. I put up my email and my Twitter in case you want to contact me after class. If you have questions or you need some help, maybe you get inspired by the class, then feel free to send me an email. Yes. Okay, so what we will be doing today is we will go through how you design and carry out a research project when you use social networks, because so far you have learned a lot of methodologies and analytical techniques, computed all sorts of measures, but it's also very good to see how you start from an idea and how you carry through with that until you have actual results in hand. So this is the outline and we will go through step by step. So the first thing is you need to find a good topic, a problem, a real world problem, which is kind of puzzling or perplexing, but also people can relate to it. So this is where I will need your activity, like, do you know any people who live abroad? Do you have any friends or relatives who live in another country? If you do, raise your hands either online or in person. Yes, perfect. And do you know if any of them is planning to move back to their country at one point? For a visit or to live? For good, like for living. Yes, okay. And do you know anyone who already moved back? Also, people online, you can just tell me if you do. Okay. Yes, excellent. Someone knows someone. And it's a very good question because actually there are more people like that these days, especially in the European Union, because we have the free movement of people. So the idea is that you go abroad to study, for Erasmus, to work or something, but then the whole principle is based on the idea that you go back to your own country and transfer knowledge, skills, and different resources you collected while you were abroad. It could be your experience as well, or a different outlook on the world. But then, what do we know about those people who go back? Like, are they happy or are they miserable? Because the general idea is that they will be happy when they go back. So how I got this idea that, of course, I have some first-hand experience, but I also know a lot of people in Hungary who studied abroad and did their university there, and they went back, and I was talking to them, and they actually felt miserable. They didn't find their place, they couldn't connect to people, they were missing their old friends and so on. So this is something that is interesting, but we know very little about. So because this is my topic, we will go with that today. So what makes a good research topic? What do you think? Like, give me some ideas. If you had to choose a topic, what are the ideas that what makes a topic a good topic to research, especially for networks, because we are in a network class? People online, people in person. What do you think is a good topic? Well, I already put up some things. It has to be interesting. There has to be a puzzle. There has to be something that's not straightforward about it. It has to be relevant. It has to be timely. So it makes no sense to work on it if it's not timely, if it's not relevant to our everyday lives. Also, another important thing is no one else has done it before you. There is no answer to it. Because if I was thinking, why do my friends feel miserable? And I opened, I don't know, Web of Science, and I found 10 articles of describing what they are going through, then it's clearly not a good topic to research because other people have already done it before us. And lastly, it has to be feasible. You always have constraints. It could be time, money, place, access to people. So you have to be able to actually do the project. And what you are going after has to be measurable in some ways. It has to be researchable. You have to get answers in the end. So once we found the broad topic, so let's say we are interested in why people feel a certain way after they move back to their country, what sort of research questions should we come up? Because if you are doing the research, any sort of research, having a research question is an essential element. So give me some ideas, like what would be interesting to look into it in this case? Online or in person?
I think the fact that the experience abroad was negative, they came back because of radio.
Exactly. So one big topic we could look at is why do they come back? Is it because they didn't like it abroad, or is it because they had a goal? For example, some people go there to earn money and then buy a house. Or some people go there because they want to have 5 years of working experience in an international company. They achieve that and they go back. Another thing we could look at it is what happens after they come back. Is it a good experience or is it a bad experience? And beyond that, because if you have a good research question, it's never a yes or question. It always has to be a broader question because you cannot do a research and come up with an answer which just says yes in the end. So then what makes it good for some people and what makes it bad for other people? And then once you have this idea in your head, then of course we have to translate it into academic language because we are doing academic research. So let's say today we will be looking at the question, how do returning migrants experience their return? Meaning, was it good or bad? And what are the main factors that determine whether it was good or bad? So once you have the idea, you have to think about theories or concepts that are useful or relevant for your research. How do you do that? First, you go online and you look at it. Is there a theory that directly answers my question? If there is, then probably you have to redefine your question because you already have the answer. Then, if there is no such theory or concept, you look broader. So you are doing masters in sociology and social research, and around that, do you know any theories that could be useful to think about whether some people have good or bad experiences in any areas of their lives? No idea?
Well, maybe it has to do with the traits, personality, traits. So, in general, how they cope with situations.
Yes, that's a very good idea because some people adapt more easily and just are more easygoing and happier. You could look at the big 5 personality traits, for example. So it's a really good idea, but this is a psychological theory, so we are focusing on something sociological today. But it's a perfectly valid idea, and you could take the whole project on a different journey and look at people's personality traits. So if we want to stay within the discipline of sociology, I think something that is very relevant for us is social capital and social support. I know for a fact that you did hear about social capital before, but we will also discuss it more in details today. So what do we know about social capital? It's one of the most well-known and most exported concepts of sociology. It came about in the 1980s, mostly inspired by Pierre Bourdieu's work. But then all disciplines took it up, so there are like plenty of definitions and studies that use the concept. You can see I listed some of the key authors. We won't be engaging with all of them because it's just a lot, and some of them are not even relevant for us, but you can look them up and read about it if you are interested. But what unites all of these scholars and thinkers from different disciplines when they talk about social capital is that social relations have valuable resources for people and communities. And it can mean individuals, it can mean nations, because Putnam spoke about social capital related to the functioning of democracy. But you can talk about structural wholes and people's advancement within companies. So you can use it to a lot of areas. So we will be focusing on the last 4, which are the most amicable for social network research. Those are the ones that have been used because they can be most easily operationalized and measured using social networks. So the first one is James Coleman's theory, and let's start with the example of the diamond market. I don't know how much you know about how things work with diamonds, but diamonds are very, very expensive, right? We can agree about that. And usually what happens is when someone acquires from some diamonds, let's say from Africa, or they might find it in an antiquity cellar, they go to some of the big diamond appraisers. They need to appraise so you know the value of the diamond. And how it works, that you take your diamonds and hand it over to that person you've never seen in your life. So basically you are giving thousands and 10,000s of euros worth thing to a person you never seen before and go away and go back 3 days later. I mean that if you think about it, is not exactly rational. When else would you give to a random person 10,000 euros and tell him, keep it and I will be back for it in 3 days? So Coleman tried to think about why people do things which, he is an economic sociologist, or at least this idea comes from the theory, from economic sociology, is if people were rational actors, why would they do something such an irrational thing? So he tried to infuse the idea of social structures and social networks into explaining why people could do these collective actions. And what he said is basically the people who deal with diamonds are a very small community. Even in the whole world, yet alone in a country, they all know each other. They work on the same market, and it's literally a handful of people. His argument focused on the New York market, where it's also usually concentrated in the hand of mostly Jewish families. So they have ethnic ties, They even have kinship ties. So he said that imagine if one person steals your diamonds and runs away with that, everyone would know that, his reputation would be ruined, and no one would ever work with him again. So he said that social capital is not a single entity, you can see the definition on the slide, but it's a variety of entities which have two characteristics in common. They consist of some aspects of social structure and facilitate certain actions of individuals who are in the structure, meaning the diamond appraiser doesn't run away with your diamond. So he said that there are three forms of social capital, which could be obligations and expectations, information channels, and social norms. And what he argued, what we already kind of hinted at, behind this whole mechanism is based on closure or bonding capital, which is exactly the fact that everyone knows everyone within the community. So you cannot run away without other people learning about it. So exactly because of that, because everyone knows everyone, obligations and expectations and social norms can be reinforced because people would learn about your deviation from the expected behavior. And then in his conceptualization, social capital can take different forms, which can be trust, social norms, reciprocity, and cooperation. But I think the main point of this one, what you have to take away, is that he believes closure is the key. Everyone knows everyone, so we can have social capital-rich societies or communities. The next.
Sorry. I forgot to record.
Oh.
I promised I was waiting.
That's going to
Yeah.
start recording as well.
Are you the host?
Recording in progress.
Yes, of course.
Can we continue?
Yes, go ahead, sorry.
Okay.
I just forgot that I promised.
So the next one is the bridging capital literature, which says the exact opposite thing. I'm pretty sure